Let's talk about email newsletters. It's what I spent all of my Sunday today writing. It's what I spend all of every Sunday writing. And it's not like I don't have anything better to do. Rumor has it I have 4 kids and 2 pigs and a dog and a wife, and they all probably have things they want me to do. But I don't mess with any of that. I just willingly fail at every one of my duties in all of those departments, and I dedicate my whole day to that newsletter. And in that newsletter, I take all of the week's previous stories and failings and everything that's too long to include in a newsletter, but it's too structured to put on YouTube necessarily, and I spell it out in longer stories that are about 2,000 characters long. It's basically like a chapter in a book with this longer, rambling, but edited story. I edit that thing to death. Because if I don't, I'm going to have 10,000 people email me about that typo that I missed, and I can't handle that kind of blowback. So believe me, I go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but everybody knows you become 10,000 times better at editing after you send something out when it's way too late to change it. So I will never catch 100% of the typos. The newsletter, it's full of a lot of nostalgia for me. This is how I started out, long before I had Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, before I even had my old blog that's since been discontinued. I had my email newsletter. And it wasn't really a newsletter. This was back in high school. I wanted to write funny stuff, and I had nobody who wanted to read it. And I solved that problem by simply emailing 20 random people. These weren't 20 people who asked me to send them stuff. These were just 20 people whose email addresses I happened to know, and I sent it out to them. And to this day, I'm probably on most of their spam lists, but I did it and enjoyed it. And that's how I first started building up an audience. And it gave me just enough confidence to keep going on this whole comedy writing thing, to major in English, to write for the school paper, to go into journalism, to abandon journalism, to go to the blog, to go to Twitter. It all started with an email newsletter. So I guess email newsletters kind of ruined my life, and I just feel like at this point I should stick with them. I didn't actually start my current email newsletter until many, many years later, after spending so much time on social media and figuring out really how social media works. Because the most important thing to remember about Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those things is you're not the one in control. Somebody else controls that algorithm and decides who sees it and who doesn't. Now, I've got 1 million followers on Twitter. And how does Twitter decide which one of those 1 million followers will see my joke? How does Facebook decide which one of those 200,000 something people will see it? It's very random. And sometimes a bad joke does really well and gets all kinds of likes because that's the one that Twitter or Facebook decided to show. And sometimes a really good joke does very poorly because Instagram will show it a lot, but Facebook won't, or Facebook will show it, but Twitter won't. I know on Facebook I run into this just with my personal page. There are people who I know nothing about their life, even though they're my friends, because Facebook has decided you don't need to know about them. But then there'll be like this one random acquaintance I met one time 6 years ago, and Facebook will show me everything about their life. And then it can sense me like that I've seen it, and it self-reinforces. So Facebook says, oh, you looked at their previous stuff, clearly you want to see more, until pretty soon all of my Facebook feed is this one acquaintance from 6 years ago. Let me tell you, I know way too much about their life. So the email newsletter kind of steps around that. Basically, if you're on the email newsletter, you get the email address. There is no will you or won't you get it, you just get it. I mean, there's a small chance it'll go to your spam file, in which case it will hurt my feelings. You can pull it out of the spam file, then it won't go there anymore. So it's a direct means of communication. It's good that if Twitter ever goes defunct, or Facebook or whatever else, if they get broken up in a monopoly lawsuit, or the Twitter servers burn down, or anything else, the email newsletter is always there. It's like my apocalypse social media. Like if everything else goes down, we will have the email newsletter. And if email goes down, well, the world's pretty much over. So it really doesn't matter at that point. At that point, you don't need my jokes. You just need prayers. So that's why I write the email newsletter. I really do enjoy doing it, even though it's a lot of work. I end up, when I write about 2,000 words a week, sometimes longer, sometimes it goes up to 4,000. I would say an average of 2,000 times 52 weeks a year. That's 104,000 words. That's basically 2 books. My first book, Only Dead on the Inside, was only 40,000 words. So I literally give away more than 2 books of free content every year. And that's what the email newsletter is. What's in it for me? Well, basically I get to stay in touch with you. I get to reach you directly. I don't have to worry about Twitter or Instagram or anybody else interfering and blocking that link. And I actually know you'll read it. I used to post this stuff on a blog and nobody would read it. Now when I send out that email, I know about 40% of people are going to open it. Do they read the whole thing? I don't know. I'd like to hope so. Each week is a disaster bigger than the one before it. It's kind of amazing I survive, or that anybody in my family survives. But it's a big continuous story. And sometimes there's huge story arcs. People who weren't here a few years ago, they'll hear references to the bear. That was a great story about how I spent months acquiring a dead bear, dressing in a tuxedo, hiding it at my friend's house, sneaking it into a wedding hall. And that transpired week by week by week. And even though my brother didn't know about it, he was the one person I was keeping it a secret from so it could be a gift at his wedding. I was putting that out in front of tens of thousands of people every week, and he never caught on. So it kind of gives me a weird form of secrecy to keep things from some people and do other schemes, and I definitely have other schemes planned for the future. So yeah, if you want to join that email newsletter, I'll go ahead and include a link in the description. I'm probably not going to get this posted till Monday, so it's too late for the one that came out yesterday, but you can get the one that comes out next week and all the ones thereafter. Again, they're like the stories I tell on YouTube, but longer and better, because all of my stories are better if I actually, edit just even a little bit. Anyway, thanks for listening. Catch you next time.